Hi, I'm James and welcome to the latest review. This time we're going to review Zvezda's 20mm figures. The first of their 20mm figures I've looked at, and we're going to look at the NSV machine gun. So let's try and get through the packaging and let's have a look what we've got inside. So first thing we've got is an Art of Tactics card. Now I don't play that, so I'm not going to worry too much about it. Next thing we've got is the assembly instructions. They look quite straightforward. It's interesting that how they put it together. Each of the figures can only go with the other parts of it. So it is going to be relatively easy to assemble from that perspective. Yeah, oh, it's an interesting option there. Instead of having the figures all on one base, as it shows on the back, you can actually put them on separate bases. So you can have the gunner on one and the two other crewmen on separate stands. I'm going to put them all, I think, on the same stand, just because it looks nice as a piece. So, yeah, not too many parts. So let's have a quick look at what we see on the sprue. You can see there we've got some very finely detailed pieces. They're attached quite nicely, but there are going to be some points where I'm going to be very careful with cutting them off, not to actually cut off a connecting lug on them. So let's start by cutting them off. Let's start with the base. That seems the logical one. Now I hadn't realised with the Zvezda 20mm figures that they are actually in a hard plastic. I think I sort of assumed that they were a softer plastic, but they are a hard plastic. So here we go. This is the part that I said was going to be quite fiddly, or thought was going to be fiddly, which is the tripod. It's very, very thin. It's realistic scale rather than some of the oversized ones that you get with some manufacturers. So it's a little bit fiddly to get off. Now let's just see. I know the 1 to 100th are snapped together. Let's have a look at this. Not really. This is going to be glued together, I think. Just one of those ones. I would have glued it anyway, but it's just nice to see if it would. Slightly fiddly. Just take a little bit of moving around to get it in. So, yeah, that will go in. So we'll just glue that. Now the NSV has got a long service in Russian history. Came into service in 1971. It was intended to replace the DSHK machine gun. Used the same round as it, 12.7mm. Pretty successful. It was used on a number of tanks as well in a slight variation, which is the NSV T. That was used on the T-76. There's no T-76, T-74, T-80, and I believe the T-64. So used there. Was used in the infantry role, which is what we're building here. So we've got the tripod nicely put in place. So let's look at the next pieces. Again, some of them are a little bit fiddly to cut off. But they're not too complex. Now, as I said, it came in service in 1971. It is being phased out in Russian service because there has been a problem with spares, because the manufacturing plant ended up in Kazakhstan. So the Russians have developed the KORD machine gun, which has started to replace it. Now it has been manufactured in other countries as well, used by other countries. It's been used by Finland. Some of those were ex-East German. Some were from Russia and some were from the Soviet Union. Poland has got their own version. Now they actually produced the WKMB, which is very similar, but adapted for NATO standard 50 caliber rounds. So if you're a Twilight 2000 player, that might be something that you might come across. The Ukraine has produced it, and Bulgaria has produced it. So it's been produced in quite a few countries, used by pretty much everybody who's bought the Russian tanks. So there are plenty of those now around, even in countries that you wouldn't necessarily think of, like South Korea using the T-80U. So it's going to be a pretty common bit of kit. You can see that we've got three crew figures. Just zoom in a little bit on that so you can see the level of detail. They are quite nice figures. Like I said, they will only go together in one way, which does make life easier. All are wearing the steel helmet and the body armour, so they are looking very much later part of the Cold War onwards. Very good for the post-Soviet conflicts as well. So give us some of this. What I think I'll do is I'll speed up the video because it is fairly straightforward assembling these figures. So that's the stand just about assembled. The only difficult part I had was putting the ammunition feed in. So a little tip, if you are building one yourself, build the figure to the right of the gunner first, but don't attach it. Then put the ammunition box on, then put the figure on. It just gives you a little bit more room to assemble it.